Victor, this next guest is very special to us here because he was the first guest ever on COMPAS on the Beat
Oh
over
my
a year and a half ago. So, introducing the special guest, Cam Inman, 49ers beat reporter for the Bay Area News Group. Cam, how are you doing? And also, hello to all your people on Twitter, Instagram. We're doing a triple cast here. How you doing, Cam?
I think I'm doing all right. I know I'm doing probably better than the 49ers. I didn't lose anything in Denver, even though we were fearing for our life a little bit when we left the stadium about midnight and there were no Ubers around. So we had to walk about 2 miles into downtown along a creek. But it was just par for the course of a really bad night for the 49ers. So they're coming into this week 4 game against the Rams. Just trying to get over that. I think they've moved on past last year's NFC Championship game against the Rams.
Yeah, Cam, we are on Twitter Space. So I think I'm on muted. 2022 problems. I'm going to turn myself off. There we
Oh, there
go.
you go.
Sorry about that. See, look at that. I'm trying to multitask. I got us here. I'm here. Gilbert Montano, Rams beat reporter for the Southern California News Group. Twitter Spaces, hello. But Cam, I feel kind of bad because I didn't check in on you from Denver. You're telling me this long creek story, but I did see you answering emails about Jimmy Garoppolo. I was reading your mailbag, so that's why I knew you were okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but so far, can we start with that, with the offense, Cam? Going from Trey Lance to Jimmy G, and I think you mentioned in the mailbag, which you should check out at the San Jose Mercury News Bay Area News Group, is that they've blown some leads. You went back to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, the NFC title game against the Rams, and then they lost some leads to the Bears and the Broncos. It's all coming together,
Right.
Cam. But I guess how would you describe this offense? Is it a Shanahan problem? Is it a quarterback problem? Is it a Jimmy G problem? What is it to you?
I think it's all the above. Let's just start with Jimmy Garoppolo because, well, I mean, Kyle Shanahan's taken a lot of heat this week, but I would almost think this is more of a Jimmy Garoppolo issue in that, I mean, he's on all the highlights for stepping out of the back of the end zone, right? And it's just not a good look. Now, you could take it many layers from that and say, well, Shanahan should not have called this play, backed up to the goal line and play action pass. The offensive lineman should have blocked better. Jimmy obviously should have a better awareness as a veteran quarterback. But that's just one of the bad plays. I mean, there was a fumbled snap at midfield. There was the fourth quarter interception, where he can't do that. Just if you want to go back to the NFC Championship game against the Rams, it was like the surrender interception. Okay, that's what happened in Denver. It happened in LA in the championship game. It's happened too often. He's going to miss open receivers. He can get crucified for that, but the offense as a whole, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, has not worked well this season. And they have some new linemen in there. But you have so many stars still in place with, George Kittle came back last week, but that didn't necessarily help matters much. But you had deebosamuel there, Brandon Ayuk. You've gone through a few running backs that have been injured. And now you got Trent Williams, their star left tackle. He's out for a month or so. That's not good.
And Cam, before Victor asks you about the offensive line, I know you're going there, Victor, but I don't want to get too far ahead just yet. But I just want to kind of step back real quick because I think I jumped the gun on the question for the offense because I wanted to kind of check the temperature of the team because that must be kind of a mental toll to put all your eggs on Trey Lance and say Jimmy G, stick around but far away. We're going to trade you. And then you go all in with Trey Lance, and then the injury happens. I'm sure, it was mentally draining for the team, I'm assuming. And then for Jimmy to do all that and say, hey, I want to come back still, give me a pay cut, I'll be ready. And he was ready. I don't know about the performances, but he was ready to go to play.
Yeah.
How about the mental aspect, Cam, of, from the team and from you seeing this as a reporter?
From the team, a week ago, everybody was so happy Jimmy Garoppolo was there. Jimmy Garoppolo was happy. He had all the familiarity guys around there. He knew the system. Everything was great. They won a game against Seattle, which they rarely do. And now everybody's like, oh, no, now it's the same old Jimmy. You can't have it both ways. I think the 49ers kept Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, he took the pay cut. There was no other great option out there for him to go. He's set himself up where 2023, he kind of can control his own destiny, but he's going to have to play well to go where he necessarily wants at a good price. You could sense there's frustration building within him and Kyle Shanahan. And that happens after any loss. So it's hard to, you don't want to overreact. They've been through so many ups and downs since 2017, since they came in. I mean, there was frustration from the get-go because everybody wanted him on the field and they kept him on a bench for a month until he got in the game. And this is 2017, and he won it around, flew the ball right wherever he wanted to go. They went 5-0. Everything was great. And so he kind of channeled that after beating the Seahawks, saying, yeah, because the game plan wasn't necessarily tailored for him. I don't know what game plan that was tailored for in Denver, because it just, nothing was clicking. Their third downs, they were 0 for 9 before they finally got a third down conversion. You had turnovers. The defense was playing lights out, but they weren't getting any takeaways. And so, like, anytime we do these post-game wrap-ups and the team loses, they're going to talk about the penalties. They're going to talk about the turnover ratio. They're going to talk about their lack of plays. If you look at the other team that won the game, nobody's making any excuses. Nobody's pointing to your penalties. Nobody's pointing to your turnovers. They're talking about how they made plays. So basically, you got to make more plays.
Yeah, Cam, and I wanted to ask you about the offensive line. I know that, as you talked about, was there a change from going from Trey Lance to Jimmy G in terms of the offensive line? And I know you talked about Trent Williams having to miss some time now. Can you touch on, like, everybody has a right tackle issue in the league for some reason. So can you touch on Mcglinchey? Am I saying yes?
Yeah.
And,
Mcglinchey.
Yes. And how he's been doing this year.
So, they entered this season with a lot. By the way, I turned off the Twitter Spaces because I
just saw that.
I'm sorry. It's just okay. Anyhow, well, so Mike Mcglinchey was coming back from a really serious injury last year. He missed half the season, and the problem with Mike's career is there will be 1 or 2 plays a game where he'll mess up, and everybody will just destroy him, and it'll get in Mike's head a little bit. But then you go back and watch film and go, wow, this guy's actually a pretty good run blocker, pretty solid right tackle. I mean, everybody thinks an NFL offensive lineman is perfect. They're going to play all 60 plays with flawlessly. The one time they screw up, everybody will harp on them and say, go get a new one. It doesn't work. There's no NFL offensive lineman store just sitting there. I mean, the college football is not producing great linemen. So they produce good linemen. It's up to NFL teams to coach them up. And right now, that's what the Niners are trying to do, because rather than go in free agency and try to go to the NFL offensive lineman store, where there wasn't any, maybe there was 1 or 2, but they were already paying a lot of guys a lot of money at other positions, right? And you're paying Trent Williams the highest salary ever for an NFL offensive lineman. Okay, so he's your stud at left tackle, or he was until he hurt his ankle the other night. So you got 3 interior guys that are, they're young. Yeah, Aaron Banks was an All-American guard at Notre Dame. Boom, that should be okay. That should be NFL ready. He wasn't. So he wasn't playing last year. He's behind Laken Tomlinson. That's good. A lot of questions about Aaron Banks coming in the year. This is where we lose the audience because people don't really like talking about interior linemen, but it's important, right?
It is.
Banks has done really well this year. I guess he's pleasantly surprising. Right guard, they have Spencer Burford, a rookie out of that Texas San Antonio football powerhouse. But I like this guy. Okay, he came in and kind of surprised people as a mid-round draft pick. Was day 1 starter all the way through. But we'll get back to him in a second. Center, they lost Alex Mack to retirement. So they put in Jake Brendel, who's never really been a full-time starter. So one of the big screw-ups Sunday in Denver was Jimmy Garoppolo fumbled a snap. Well, that's the first thing you got to do in playing football is take a snap. So it ruined great field position. Kyle Shanahan outed the reasoning for that yesterday, saying the whole offense went on 1, and Brendel didn't snap the ball until he heard 2. Okay, hut, not good. So ball fumbled, center gets thrown under the bus. Great, everything's as happy as can be in Santa Clara right now. So back to Burford, the right guard. That's the position, okay, where Daniel Brunskill had owned Aaron Donald. Now I say owned because 49er fans think, oh, he's Aaron Donald's daddy. Okay, if memory serves, in the NFC Championship game with a Super Bowl berth on the line, Aaron Donald went right past Daniel Brunskill, was bringing Jimmy Garoppolo to the ground when he threw an interception. So, I mean, but for the most part, Brunskill played well against Aaron Donald. It was like he neutralized him. Well, so did Kyle Shanahan's play calls to run the heck away from Aaron Donald, right? That's what they're going to have to do this game, is make sure you're not going at Aaron Donald, making sure you don't make the mistakes that are become, there's 1 or 2 coming with Jimmy Garoppolo, so you have to make other plays to offset them.
Gilbert's going to ask you about all the sexy players on defense. So I just want to make sure I ask you about, and I want to make sure I say that his name right, is Tolanoa Hufanga.
Hufanga.
Yeah, but yes. And I know he's getting a lot of comparisons to Troy Polamalu from Charles Woodson and others. And I just want you to touch on his story. Just give us some nuggets on him. And is he still struggling with pass coverage, or has he fixed that?
That's a good question. Okay, so Talanoa Hufanga, I mean, you guys should know, USC product, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Was it still Pac-12? Was it still Big 12? Whatever it is. Anyhow, so Hufanga kind of he played so well as a rookie. They had to kind of get him on the field more and more as his rookie season was going on. And then Jaquaski Tart, the guy that dropped the interception in the NFC Championship game, he was not brought back as a free agent. So Hufanga slotted in there as strong safety immediately. He has played tremendous through 3 weeks. He has not been perfect. I mean, Chicago, they gave up 2 big pass plays where safety needs to be back there. There was miscommunication, may not have been his fault. But he's everywhere. He's all over the field, going to the ball. He's getting in the backfield. He's doing okay in coverage. D'Amico Ryan, the defensive coordinator, said last week that Hufanga is everybody's favorite player right now because of how well he's playing. Which is a lot to say when Nick Bosa is on your freaking defense, and so is Fred Warner. But Hufanga's got that. He's brought a lot of energy and electricity to that defense. So at every level of this defense, you have a stud. And Hufanga's approaching that stage. He's still young, still untested. And they've got some veteran cornerbacks now in Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley to help him out. Jimmy Ward, their stud-free safety. He's out this game. This will be his 4th game he's missed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. So Hufanga's kind of held it down back there with Tashawn Gibson, former free agent that they got off the market who didn't participate in camp, but he's looked pretty good. So did I answer your question about Hufanga? I mean, he's everywhere. Yeah. He's energy. He's great. Yes, he's getting the Troy Polamalu comparisons because of the hair. And he's actually, I mean, he says, Polamalu was his idol, his mentor, and he helped train him before the NFL. So there's a logical link there. And he's a really pleasant guy. He gave one of the most how can I say, humble press conferences upon being drafted, but just about being grateful. And I think a lot of times in this profession, people are very entitled, think they've done their work and they deserve all this. To this day, he's extremely humble and grateful, watches a lot of game film, and he attributes that to his father, to Vita. And it was kind of cool to talk to him about that at his locker last week. And it's one of those really cool NFL stories of a guy that had to work his way up. But I mean, it's still very early in his career.
Cam, just curious, are we still on IG Live at least?
We're on IG Live.
There we go.
We got a few people watching.
There we go. We lost Twitter space, but we got IG Live. So thank you for sticking around.
Thanks for checking in still. All right, there we go. We're back.
I wonder if people are saying, hey, this audio is terrible, but I'm still watching. So we appreciate it.
Better, hey, better than the visual of me. So I'd rather hear you guys anyhow. So.
Well, hopefully they're enjoying this conversation, Cam.
They can watch my desk. How's that? They can try to see what I have around.
Yeah, you got some good credentials and a good picture over there. I like it.
All that stuff, right? You can try.
But I also don't appreciate, Victor calling me out. They only care about the star players. Your followers on Instagram think I only care about Nick Bosa, which might be true because I like watching the workout videos of Nick Bosa that you have on TikTok.
That's where you get that's where I get the million views or whatever. That's where we gotta get the viral stuff. But hey, now that you bring it up, let's talk Nick Bosa, because
there you go.
The guy, I mean, he's getting a sack a game, right? He has 4 sacks for 3 games. I said this last Sunday night game was going to be the Nick Bosa game. I said this was going to be the showcase that puts him out there for the national audience to realize he should be the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. But he only got 1 sack, and Russell Wilson rallied in the 4th quarter like he always does against the 49ers. So the great thing is Nick is healthy. I mean, he is the epitome of what a pro football player machine should look like. The guy is relentless. He's always on the field. And he's going to be a problem for Matthew Stafford. And I think Nick is hungry to atone for last week that they didn't finish off the game they wanted to. He's got a pretty good supporting cast around him. So it's not all on Nick, which that's going to help boost his cause. But I mean, he is, I've covered this team for over 20 years, and you just know when you see that's exactly what you want out of a football player, a Frank Gore, a Joe Staley. DeForest Buckner was like that when he first came in, and Bo says he's there, man. This guy it's hard to take your eyes off him on the practice field in the games. If you just isolated him every time, you just to see, wow. A lot of problems though. The offensive linemen are get away from hold. They hold him a lot. They'll put chokeholds on him underneath his neck. And Niner fans will take a screenshot of that once a week and they'll post it up there and say, "It's not fair." And it's just the way it goes in the NFL. And Nick doesn't complain. Like, to Nick's credit, he will never complain about being held.
Well, I got one extra Nick Bosa question, but more of like the overall of the, the front, the pressure of the pass rusher. And real quick, I feel like Aaron Donald and Nick Bosa should have like their own like podcast or YouTube channel of working out fitness with the edge rushers or the interior defensive lineman, whatever. That'd be fun to watch. But overall, how about the entire kind of the defensive line, the edge rushers? Because when you attack Matthew Stafford with just four guys, you don't need to blitz. And when you have Nick Bosa, you don't have to blitz. So it tends to go bad for Matthew Stafford. And the offensive line is really shaky for the Rams. Or like I keep telling Victor, they're down to the third string right guard. They don't have their center. So it could be a long day for Stafford. But how do you see that matchup playing out so he's not always going to Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson and Tyler Higbee?
I don't see why he wouldn't want to. It works. I mean, for years it's been the Rams' Achilles heels that they don't have any good offensive linemen. And, the Niners won 6 consecutive meetings against them to that NFC Championship game. So they know how to get to him, right? And kind of just diffuse it the best way they can. So, I mean, aside from Bosa, let's start on the opposite end. They have Samson Ebukam, former Los Angeles Ram, right? The guy was always good for 4.5 sacks for 3 straight seasons. And the first third down play this season, he got a sack. And it's like, okay, he's dialed in. It's a contract year for him again. He wants to get going. And then each of the last couple of games, there's a sack will slip out of his hands. He's quality. He's fast. He's not a bigger guy. But they have a really deep defensive line rotation. That's what makes them one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, Denver took bragging rights Sunday night saying they were the best because they allowed fewer points. Actually, they didn't. They allowed 10 points. The Niner defense allowed 9 plus a safety on Jimmy G. Anyhow, okay. So besides that, the other guy on the defensive line you got to look at is Devon Kinla. Is their first-round draft pick a couple years ago, had ACL surgery last year. He's come back. He is what was the term somebody used in training camp of just a mutant. It wasn't very complimentary, but that kind of, I mean, the guy's huge. Okay. He's he leaned up. He's got a mean streak to him. He has not been producing on the stat sheet, but he's been very good on their run defense. He wants to get to the passer more. A passer that's going to stay in the pocket like Matthew Stafford is very good for him. Eric Armstead, their other captain and defensive tackle, he missed last game with plantar fasciitis. Tried to give it a go, which means, in my mind, he's probably saved himself for a bigger divisional game against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. So I would expect him to go. They got they had about 10 or 11 deep. Now they have, 1 or 2 guys are injured. So it is something to reckon with.
And last thing, Cam, we'll go out with this note here. And I know the 49ers have a bunch of other problems, so maybe they're not even thinking about it. But this Monday Night Football game, in Santa Clara, Levi Stadium, where the Rams haven't won since 2018, it's been a while for them. Are they going to be thinking revenge, payback for the NFC title game? They had that game, a drop interception away. Sorry for the 49ers fans that are listening on IG Live, but is there going to be a whole, we got to get this game? Sorry about that.
No, you know what? So the whole a revenge tour thing, that was on the Niners' minds after they lost the Super Bowl, and that kind of backfired where it's like, oh, let's get payback. You just can't look back in the NFL. And if the Niners are looking back, they're looking back to Denver and seeing what a disastrous offensive game they played. And then the defense is probably going to get frustrated that they played a great game, just like they did in the opener, and the offense couldn't do their part. So the only part they're going to look back on the Rams is just knowing that they beat them 6 times. They should have beat them in the NFC Championship game if they made the right plays. They didn't make the plays. They have no excuse. So the Rams won it fair and square. They've changed personnel a little bit. So have the Rams. That's the beauty of the sport. It's like you can move along here. So, there will be as many 49er fans in the house at Levi's as there were at SoFi Stadium. As usual, it'll be red, packed house like that. So,
yeah.
But primetime game. It's a way to kind of rebuild their reputation as an NFC contender because, guys, right now, look around that NFC. Philadelphia Eagles are the only 3-0 team, right? They've looked good. I don't have full faith that they're going to ride it all the way through. I think I came into this going, the Niners and the Rams have as good a shot at anybody. I mean, obviously the Rams because they're defending champions. So, but then you have Tom Brady, and then there's usually one or two other teams that crop up. I didn't buy into the Green Bay Packers because I've seen them too much, and I've seen them in the playoffs, and their defense is playing okay, but I just don't have a lot of faith right now in the offense around Aaron Rodgers. And I picked Minnesota to win that NFC North.
Wow.
So, but then again, I also picked the Niners to win the NFC West, and they're 1-2 right now. And they're behind the Detroit Lions on the waiver wire today, so or ahead of them. That's not good.
Well, Sir Cam, you dropped the knowledge and plenty of football left. Who knows what's going to happen at the end of the year? But this first matchup between the Rams and 49ers should be fun. You are the 49ers beat reporter for the Bay Area News Group, Bang, San Jose Mercury News. Cam Inman, thank you for dropping the knowledge and making history again, because you were the first guest on COMPAS on the Beat. And that is the first time that we've ever done 3 streaming plays at one time, IG Live, Twitter Spaces, and on StreamYard. So, or YouTube, I guess. Maybe it could be 4. Who knows, Cam? But thank you for the time, man.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll see you Monday night.